My name's Chris.
And I'm Christy.
This is the Washing Up Podcast, and it was free something or other.
Everybody's free.
Disappointing week.
Everybody's free. I would say.
I'm going with disappointing week in terms of the fact that it was missing sugar and dairy and all those sorts of things. But we'll come to that because we've got a guest.
Hello.
Hey, Leah, how you going?
Good, how are you?
Not too bad. So, Leah, obviously, at For The Jokes on Twitter from Decider TV. So, you do, like, proper recaps and stuff and things.
Yeah, I probably spend more time on it than I should.
You spend more time on it than we do. Come on, say it. You can do it.
Oh, no, couldn't remember how to speak.
Words are not important. Okay, it's only a verbal medium. You're fine. It's all good.
What you needed was to get someone in to just read your tweets out for people. We just talk, and tweet it, and then
we just get a Siri out there and just like
no, Stephen Fry, he's for hire.
Yes.
Fry. Who else has done some? I can't remember.
So
moving on.
So obviously we've got you in on a very intriguing week. A week where like things that you would consider essential for baking are missing from baking.
Well, one, it was Marcus.
So one of them was Marcus, obviously.
It's really sad this week, isn't it?
Oh,
just
no
sugar, no gluten, no butter.
No, and after the end of the episode, no Robert. But we'll come to that because I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I'm not prepared to let him go yet.
No,
I'm not prepared. So. We need to begin with...
The begin.
No, we need to begin with the drinking game. So we put out a special unofficial drinking game card tonight because we've had the others out for a few weeks. And by the way, if you'd still played on those, you'd still be at least tipsy. But as
we just randomly conjectured what we would see tonight on the show.
Yeah, so what we decided to do was, what did we think was going to appear? So we had Mel or Claire use a prop to make a joke. Matt wears a vest. Someone complains they can't use sugar. A close-up of a flower. A dog romping in the park. Maggie's hand flapping with joy. The judge can't believe that blank is missing. The baker references their family member can't have blank. And Matt is surprised. Before the credits,
yes,
we had a prop, we had a flower, we had a dog.
4 dogs.
Well, yeah, we had 4 dogs. We hadn't got to the credits.
Oh, yeah, I saw the card. I was like, oh, people are going to be so drunk. So drunk.
We got 2 minutes into the episode and we had everything almost except Matt wearing a vest, which you would have thought was the Grand Slam home run of this card.
Because we thought we need one guaranteed, so people are getting at least one drink in. And we thought, flowers would, but... vest. And we hadn't seen it. No, we hadn't seen the vest. Oh, sorry.
You're singing early. It's good. So
I'm still relaxed from last week.
So before you saw the episode, was there anything you were anticipating that you thought they might make?
No, because I sort of do this thing where the screeners, like I watch. So just to brief background in how I write it is I watch the full episode once without taking any notes. That's when I usually do screenshots because you just have to hit a button. And then the next time I watch it through, I sort of take notes because I've seen it. I don't need to watch the whole time. And then once a challenge is finished, I write up that challenge. So the screeners I have don't have what's on next week. So I often don't know. But I looked it up on Foxtel website today, and so I know what next week is. But.
See, if I had to predict what you would put in a week which was free of all sorts of things, trifle wouldn't have been in there. No, I didn't think the trifle would be in there. You were intrigued, Christy, by the idea originally when they mentioned the fruit tarts of how the hell are you going to do the pastry?
Yes, I was like, well, that needs butter. But then, it was good to see some interesting things come out, like pork lard and not so good for the vegetarians there. Coconut oil, vegetarians can have that shit stuff. It's very nice, actually.
Sorry, I'm talking to people.
No.
That's what the podcast does. Talks to
so my sister's allergic to nuts, and so whenever they watch any of these kinds of shows, it's like, oh, another thing I can't eat. So a nut-free one could have been interesting, although I don't know what you would have had for that.
So interestingly, by the way, if you've got the drinking game still in front of you,
Mm.
Leah's just giving you something to drink about because her sister can't have nuts. So actually just added to this. So if you were finished drinking and going, well, thank God I can relax by listening to the podcast, she's just got you to drink again.
But that's interesting that you bring it up. Like, sorry to get a bit serious. I know this is unheard of. I'm usually saying felching. But like, after being away on the retreat last week and also listening to Elena talking, I really have this idea now about food privilege. Like, we are privileged because we can eat whatever the fuck we want. You know, there are people who choose not to have certain things, but that's a choice. And then there are people like your sister who cannot have nuts. You know, it is something that will actually affect them and cause them either, you know, death.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, a lot of pain. And, you know, so there really is food privilege. And I'm not just talking about, you know, the difference between first and third worlds.
Yeah. Oh, there's a great article on The Lifted Brow. I think it was last year or the year before about MasterChef. And it's like, oh, well, it's every dish is basically meat and 3 veg. Like,
well, yes and no. I mean, again, and Elena talked about this last week on the podcast, that she sort of went out of her way. There were only 2 dishes that she made all of that season.
Yeah.
Where she didn't make them gluten-free, but she didn't sing about it the whole time and tell everyone about it. She just did it.
Well, the thing is as well, is when you're eating vegetarian, to make things interesting and to get the flavors and the textures, you actually need time. You know, there are quite a number of things that you can do quickly, but to create things that are generally like meat free, you need a bit more time and love to go into it, and you just don't get that on MasterChef. There's no, like, you know, slow cooking challenge where it's, you know, people bring out the slow cookers and then disappear for 6 hours and come back to a nice thing.
Come back to a nice thing. So because we've got a bit serious, let me just ask a question. What the hell is non-dairy spread? Right, because to me, look, again, there's a viable answer, I'm quite sure. But to me, that does sound a bit dodgy.
It sounds like, I can't believe it's not butter dairy free. You know, it's like they've just gone along to the oil refining factory and just found something that's margarine-esque.
So you've sort of got an answer?
No. I'm just conjecturing.
Leah, have you got an answer?
The answer that people on Twitter seem to be saying is it's probably Nuttalex.
I'm going with sadness.
But so it's the same as the orange liqueur. They just couldn't say Nuttalex. I'm telling you.
Yes, the infamous orange liqueur.
We're sponsored by Devondale. On the Nuttalex.
Now let's talk about that, because I thought that was interesting, that we did a dairy-free fruit tart on a show sponsored by Devondale. Hashtag.
What happened to all the Devondale lady ads?
I don't know. They vanished, but they had the fridges of Devondale there, but it was almost like they had a padlock on them. Hashtag, you ought to be congratulated. So I thought it was interesting that on a show sponsored by a dairy company, we did a dairy-free challenge.
I know what happened. It's Maggie and her butter hoarding. Like, she just took all the butter from the like.
Well, you had this theory. You had this theory
to take
later
it back
on.
to a dragon hoard of butter.
Well, you had this theory later on too when we get to it with the sugar-free, that it wasn't supposed to be a sugar-free challenge. Matt Moran just stole it all.
He was quite animated tonight.
He was very hyperactive for Matt Moran. He wasn't his normal sort of reserved self. He was bubbly and out there and over the top. And I'm sure it was Sugar Rush. So we had our traditional amount of innuendos. They got him out of the way in the first challenge. So Chris started off by the fact that it was hardening up and it was going to be nice and stiff in the tarts. And the thing is that, unlike Maggie last week, where she had no idea what she was saying when she made those comments, Chris knew 100% what he was doing.
And less of an innuendo and more of a Seinfeldian observation. His Barb's raspberries feel like nipples.
Oh, yes.
And then it was, what do raspberries feel like? Nipples. Just feel it. Just feel it.
Telling it to Dave, who I'm sure, is very...
Poor Dave. He had a look of a shocked man.
Yes, I think in my notes or in my recap, it just says Barb is the best
And
after that.
And well, she also added the "if in doubt, add more grog," which is a great life
Yes,
lesson.
queen. Yes.
Now, while we're talking about Barb,
Yes.
Yep.
I know you want to talk about last week. Hashtag justice for Barb. So, yeah, like last week, we do need to mention the Starbaker thing from last week. I thought she was Starbaker. I really thought she was Starbaker.
Oh, same.
The story that was told, it was Barb as Starbaker.
And again, that's not a knock on Claudia. On the contrary, outstanding work by Claudia. But that Black Forest crepe cake looked amazing. But Barb went into the challenge leading and didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
And came first in the tech, and Claudia came last, didn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah, so she
was second last.
She was down the bottom. Yeah, she was down the bottom.
Yeah.
And they said at the start of it, "You've had a bad week."
So you've had a bad week.
And then she came first.
Great.
Yeah. And so I tweeted earlier that there was like a little surprise I had.
Yeah, so I've got that in my notes.
I don't really like Stranger Things.
Oh my God.
That's gonna really upset Twitter.
Yeah, no, it is. It's just like it's fine. Like I got to episode 5 of the first season. I was like, oh, this isn't really for me. But I just love Justice for Barb memes.
I think Justice for Barb memes are live. I mean, there's some brilliant memes.
She was my favourite character. I'm a bit worried about season 3 coming up and any new character starting with the letter B and usually like a mono because of Barb and Bob.
Apparently there are rumors that 11 will be evil.
That makes sense. That makes sense as to what happened. It would be good. They need to spend things up.
Yeah.
Little bit of evil 11. I mean, it didn't do Willow any harm, so
no, it helped Willow. Willow was awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway,
have you seen any of Riverdale?
A bit, yeah. I got to about episode 10.
Oh, okay, because episode 3, they of course had that actress and they did a whole thing about slut shaming, and at the end, one of the characters said #justice for Ethel, which is the character she was playing. And I was like, I don't know if I like this or I hate it.
Don't know if it's referencing. The referencing is are we getting too meta? Or is it just Netflix advertising Netflix? Could be anything. Yeah. What I also love about Barb was we've talked a lot about this idea that the Bakers are so keen to help each other.
For a moment there, I thought you were actually talking about Barb from Stranger Things.
No, I'm talking about actual Barb. Real Barb.
Back to Baker Barb.
So she was so keen to help Claudia that she nearly knocked her over. She jumped in like a superhero and kept going. And I thought Claudia was done for. Like Captain Caveman. The doors on the side of the shed were wide open. I just thought you were going to hip check her out of the way and knock her fire. Take over the bake.
Yeah, bitch who should have been Starbaker. Boom. Nothing up her tart.
Sabotage.
Beastie Boy starts blaring.
Sabotage. So it was interesting. It was an interesting sort of scene, and then Claudia paid it forward by going over and helping Robert as well.
Yeah.
Which was, and again, we always mention it, but it's one of the things that makes the show what it is.
Yeah.
Is the fact that it's not a case of like death from above for all the Bakers. It's a case of let's help each other. And like last week when they all rushed over to help out and everyone's layering things on with Barb and then Claudia tonight and then Robert again and everyone just rushes in and helps.
It's like, and because I was listening to the episode for last week and how Rob was saying that like they all just want to see each other do well because they all have like the same interest and passion, and it's really lovely.
And as we said, I don't think anyone in this series has gone home through absolute abject failure. And I mean,
no.
I thought again, week 1, Jess nearly managed to save that cake. Been so close to rescuing that. No one's gone home through abject failure. It's been someone's just got to go home.
Yeah. Not as good as you're good.
On that week, you didn't quite make it.
Quite as good.
And I think it's been a bit different to what you see in things like British Bake Off. Because with British Bake Off for the first few weeks, quite often, for the first couple of weeks, I always go back down. There you go. I always go back to.
I'm like Michael Winslow.
Again, I thought he was in the room. I always go back to the series with Lee, the vicar, who couldn't make a sponge.
I haven't seen that one.
And it's incredible. He comes in and all they got them to do was make a sponge. That was week 1. It wasn't a fancy sponge. It was a sponge.
No, this falls back into our our conspiracy theory that in Great British Bake Off, the first person is actually not a baker. They're an actor. And he's probably like, what's my character? Like, I don't know, you're a baker. Oh, I'll come up with my own. I'm a vicar.
Oh no, maybe I have seen that one.
We put this, I think that was the series with Candace.
Candace, yes.
I didn't finish that series.
Yeah, he was the first person out in the Candace series, and it was interesting.
Who was the person who won in British Bake Off, Star Baker, the first week, and then went home in the second week?
That's happened a few times. There was the Nadia series. There was the Curse of Star Baker, where for the first couple of weeks, everyone who got Star Baker went home. It was a curse. So, and the other one was in Australian Bake Off in the last series. The curse was whoever happened to be at the bench next to Fee.
Oh, that's right.
Like for every one of the first few weeks, if you were next to Fee, you went home. And the week that Fee went home...
She's actually a Bedouin queen.
Yeah,
that's
and the week that Fee went home, no one was at the bench next to her.
Oh, so it was an odd-numbered week.
Yeah, so she sent herself up. That week she voodooed herself because there was no one at the bench next to her to do it to. But yeah, every week up until she went home, if you were next to Fee, you went home. So, but yeah, we put that forward with the British series and said that maybe the Australian series should do that, where you have the first person out every week is not a real baker, just to make everyone feel better about themselves and do like a fondant challenge. Just there you go. Can you ice something? And the actor can't ice things.
That's like my favourite challenge. I make icing just so I can eat it.
There we go. I've just got this image in my head now of Maggie Beer with just this bucket of icings. It can't be bubblegum flavoured, as we found out, because she doesn't like bubblegum flavours.
Not like the actor, though, because they'll just keep doing asides to the camera, like trying to, and flashing their head profile shots.
Practicing their profile shot, yeah. So the judging on this challenge, Raisa's ones, they said there was no glaze on top of the tart, but the pastry was great. And I like that Matt got a bit Paul Hollywood for a second there, because he was like, Raisa, this pastry, pause.
Oh, yes.
It's brittle.
Pause.
Sorry.
And it's amazing.
Yeah.
And he did it's brittle on a pause, and then paused again, and then went, and it's amazing.
Ha!
Oh.
It was just so Paul Hollywood. Like, he's been practicing.
Maybe he caught up with Paul Hollywood. I mean, they're both, well-known food people in the food world, and they probably caught up in, I don't know, Portugal or somewhere.
A food place?
In a food place.
Because they're well-known food people in a food world.
Place, and discussed,
The male judge bake-off conference.
Yeah.
Which is what Paul Hollywood's Twitter handle is.
Maybe they
Oh, really?
He's joined Twitter, because the other one that was there wasn't actually him.
Oh, wow.
And he's joined, and it's at male judge.
Oh, my God. I'm checking this right now.
So,
oh, that's brilliant. Okay, I need to join that.
So yeah, while we're here,
Follow.
It's at male judge.
It also sounds like something you'd be doing at a male beauty contest.
And check it out. Again, it's very real.
It really sounds like one of the events happening at Mardi Gras.
It is. Male judge.
Male judge.
You. I pick you. And by the way, to the Twitter community out there who follow the account, your GIF responses to my roll call tweet are so good.
So point.
Oh, there were some sensational GIFs back tonight.
There were some really great ones.
Lots of RuPaul, which I love.
Yes.
So much.
I've been watching it for about 3 weeks now, so I'm...
Oh, lucky you. Lucky you.
What season are you watching?
So I've just started season 3.
Cool. I kind of started watching it on season, I can't, maybe the most recent one or the one before the most recent
Yeah,
one?
so I'm watching the All Stars because that's on at the moment, and then I'm just sort of catching up with the rest on
Find
Stan.
out who the All Stars were. Oh, better watch their season.
Yep.
Speaking of All Stars,
Yes.
Dave's.
Ah, Christy.
So it melted, it melted in the mouth, but then they complained that it was too rich. And it was ultra crumbly. Of course it was ultra crumbly. It melted in your mouth. What do you think it was? It just doesn't make sense to me.
But they were like, it's very impressive that it's so rich and there's no dairy in there.
It's so rich. I mean, we can't eat all of it, but it's so rich. It's amazing, but it's too
like
rich.
I'm biting
But it's so
into
rich.
Bill Gates.
Like Warren Buffett on a tart. There you go. Well, we've got an episode title: Warren Buffett on a tart. Roberts.
Oh, was that Donald Trump?
No.
Slut shamed for a joke. I'm so sorry.
Anyway, Roberts needed more time in the oven, unfortunately, and that didn't bode well for the future. Chris's pastry was too thick. Now, I just thought this whole episode was Chris proving a point from last week when they complained that he was making things a little bit too dainty compared to what he normally did. So he just decided this week, and we'll talk about the trifle in a minute.
Oh my God.
He just decided he was going big.
Is this when we just go, oh, that mohawk's quite dainty, and he comes in?
Don't challenge him with the mohawk. However, apparently the flavour of the curd was amazing. Claudia's was too firm. The domes were a bit too firm.
Didn't have the.
No one commented on Matt's firm balls comment or rubbery balls or whatever it was.
No, the comment coming up in a minute is a comment coming up in the tiramisu one where it was Barb was rolling her balls in sugar.
Yeah,
that was more up there. But
now this one was like, if you compare Claudia's to Robert's jelly, Claudia's were implants and Robert's were natural.
yeah, they didn't move. They didn't move at all. And as you said, Christy, Barb should have just been called Barb's chocolate nipples.
Oh, absolutely.
And the pastry was beautiful and brittle, and Matt rated it a 10 out of 10.
Now, speaking of Stranger Things that we were about 6 conversations ago, who was it? Someone on Twitter posted up, I think it might have been Brandon Black.
Yeah, it was.
Like the Demigorgon.
Yes.
That's when I made my cryptic tweet about a surprise confession.
That was where the confession came up. And we followed that up with tiramisu. Now, I think one of the most appropriate things they've said all series was about the gluten-free tiramisu, or why bother?
Italian. Why bother?
Now, Barb commented on, I've never made a tiramisu, to which I said on Twitter, guess what, Barb?
You still haven't
really made a tiramisu. This is a gluten-free version.
So I wonder if Frangelico has gluten in it, because they didn't use Frangelico, did they? Or they just...
No. Oh, give me a second.
I don't know. I mean, I know they use coffee. I saw the coffee, and I was.
They used vinicotto.
Yeah, because that's what they mentioned vinicotto when I was wondering if verjuice was about to appear.
Yes,
because it just seemed like a logical.
Quince and vinicotto. It's like, oh, okay.
It does seem like they were just emptying out the Maggie Beer range of products. Let's run through it. Again, I'm sure it was Maggie Beer quince paste. I can't imagine they used anything else.
Surely.
The other week when they used something, and it was Maggie's product on the bench, and it was it made sense. This was where Barb also commented, I'm rolling my balls in a bit of sugar because all balls need a roll in sugar.
Yes, to which Mike on Twitter responded, or writer in residence, that's the only way balls get in my face. Something like that.
The other one I love was when they were talking about throwing cream and about just throwing cream everywhere. And Mike's like, that's why I met my ex. Mike was on fire tonight. Tip of the cap to you, Mike. You're on fire.
And something about disappointing when you only get cream and no biscuit.
Yeah, it was the cream and no biscuit comment too. Now, again, they did one of my favourite instructions. Bake until golden.
Yeah.
How long are you going to bake for?
Go on, work it out.
If they've gone black, you've gone too long.
Yeah, I don't like bake until golden. Like, that's for biscuits. That seems fairly standard.
It seems fairly logical. Bake until golden. And I loved Barb's technical term of the spongy biscuit.
Oh yes, I also call them that because I was not typing whatever it was twice.
No, well, it's a bit like last week when they were talking about they were talking about the clafouti last week, and no one on Twitter was game.
Clafouti, apple.
Oh, well, I looked it up to write in my recap. and then I add an extra L. I was typing.
So
Yep.
Suddenly sound like the Swedish chef.
you've been playing the drinking game because by this point of the night, you had more booze than the tiramisu.
So basically, people will not be watching or listening to our podcast because they'll be on their having to watch the second half.
I'll be on a drip.
Bake Off.
I'll be on a drip.
That's right.
In the hospital.
Pumped.
Fluid will be being pumped into them right now. And again, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
We might end up with a booze sponsorship after this.
I'm hoping so because
Audrey Wilkins wine. If
you're listening to us, Kahlua, Bailey's, whoever, we'll take you. We'll take your sponsorship dollar. Cash for comment. I'm all for that.
Yeah, I want a golden microphone.
Yeah, any particular
Then
sponsorship
I'll
you'd
know
like?
how good my biscuits have to be cooked.
Any particular sponsorship you'd like, Leah? While we're at it,
Oh, Midori.
Midori, done.
That's my stuff. I am a basic bitch.
There we go. Well, hey, aren't we all?
Oh,
So
I remember when Midori Illusions first came out in like 2000. Or might have been 1999.
I was in university and they were selling them by the jug.
Let me take you back to the days of Prodigy and
Oh,
and whatever else. And you get them in test tubes, in an actual test tube holder.
Oh my God.
Like $5 for $15 or something ridiculously awesome like that.
yeah, see, my uni was doing jugs for $5.
Oh, well, you went to a basic uni.
Jugs of illusions.
I actually wasn't at the uni. I was working there because I didn't get in. I was going to be an actress.
Instead, you now did podcasting. Yeah. So, we need to talk about Dave.
Oh, Dave.
We need to talk about Dave in this challenge because the computer was going flat out. The measurements, he had the laser scope on the biscuit. He was measuring absolutely perfectly using that internal computer. You could hear the processing as he worked out the assembly.
Do you think he's Elon Musk's
I'm wondering if he's Astro Boy. If he takes off suddenly from his feet and starts blasting up into the air, I'm going to assume he's Astro Boy.
Baking locked in the shed with micro precision
inside his head. There we go.
Well, it's like when because in the first challenge, Barb said, "Oh, Dave, we were supposed to make 8."
Yeah.
They're all roasting Dave now.
And then Dave paused and then went,
"Oh,
no,
that's a joke."
no. And then she's like, lighten up. Now, I wouldn't have succeeded at this challenge. I have to say straight up, I would have failed the tiramisu.
Why?
Because I would have just drunk the coffee.
Yeah, that's true. When Roberts wandered over to do the coffee, I'm like, oh, they're just making you a long black dahl. Look at that.
I drink some would say far too much coffee. I would say not enough.
Oh, I'm just as dark as your heart and soul.
Yeah, it's as black as my heart. It's as black as my heart.
But it makes it really easy because when he's I'm waiting for him at a coffee shop, I know what to order. But unlike me, I just change my fucking mind.
You change your mind.
Depending on whatever coffee. They all taste the same to me, apart from long black.
In fact, the other day when we were ordering coffee, I went to order the coffee. You said, order me this. You walked away from the table and came back. And when they got there to take the order, you changed the order by the time you got back to the table.
They're all the same. It's coffee milk.
And it was an Aria too.
With or without chocolate sprinkles.
It was an Aria. So that could have been. So now...
I wouldn't have known. You could have told me it was a cappuccino and handed me a long black. Oh, no.
You would have known that.
You would have known that.
So Claudia's cookbook apparently is going to be called Layers of Pleasure.
Yep.
What would you call yours? Go on.
Oh.
So, Christy, start with you. So what would you call your cookbook?
Oh, Wibbles and Cream.
Wibbles and Cream. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a fan of it.
Well, because I wouldn't actually have a book. It'd be more about me sampling other people's Wibbles and Cream and commenting on it.
Sampling other people's Wibbles and Cream. We may have it. Forget the first title. I think Wibbles and Cream might now be it. You got any idea?
Yeah, I think it would be, I sort of alluded to it earlier tonight, is Baking Bad, because I used to bake when I was Breaking Bad.
Yes.
So it'd be like recipe/recap.
That would be absolutely perfect. I love that. So,
and yours, Chris, you can't get away.
I can't get away with it.
Would yours be Stiff in the Tart? Oh, sorry, that's our autobiography.
No, I'd go with one of my favourite That 70s Show jokes. I'd just call it specials. When someone asks me what the specials are, I'd say everything.
I'll tell you a random. This is a really, really weird tangent, right? So
No,
I never do this.
you never do tangents.
So when I was about 20, I read some book about the history of the Scottish Highlands, and it mentioned Charles II having a mistress called Lucy Scott, who was known colloquially as the Cheerful Tart. Now, on my dad's mother's side, their last name was Scott. So I thought, well, I'm just going to take on what I can only presume is the family title. I'll just inherit it. No, I don't know anyone else going by it, so I took on the Cheerful Tart.
And I love the way that people greet you in the street as such. It's wonderful. Hand out business cards with the Cheerful Tart. All over it. One of the dizzy stuff, folks. So
hello, it's the Cheerful Tart.
That's my follow-up.
Hello, it's the Cheerful Tart. Anyway, so I apologise. I don't even know what country I insulted with that accent. It was good. So,
all of them.
All of the countries are going, that's not us. And I'm like, no, you're right, it wasn't. So Barb's had issues with structure. Chris's they absolutely loved.
Mm-hmm.
Claudia, they said they couldn't find the gelatin.
No.
Dave's, they said it was dry and felt like it was hiding something. What the hell was Dave hiding inside it? Possibly a glass case of human emotion, but we don't know.
I just found a typo in my recap. Sorry.
Oh, no.
I hate
Everyone, judge it harshly. Raisa's was good, but was covered by cream. The moment where Raisa, when they come over for the judging, she looked at everyone and went, I didn't read it properly and I didn't realise you weren't supposed to cover it completely.
But she followed Robert's thing and she just said, when you panic, you throw cream at it.
I panicked and I threw cream. So it's good to see there are things that are breaking into the public consciousness now.
So that's what your brother did. Okay. So
that's okay. Here we go.
The first family dinner I went to with the Buchanans, it was hilarious. So what did they serve up? Waffles or something that required a bit of whipped cream. So his brother, who's very lovely, offered to cream my waffle. That sounds wrong anyway.
That sounds bad, but go on.
He does it, and it just goes whoop, up my face and shoulder. I said, I didn't come here expecting to be creamed by your brother tonight. And it was one of those moments, it's like, okay, they're either going to love me or they're going to fucking go, what are you doing with this, foul-mouthed hussy? Thankfully, they laughed. And it's been an ongoing joke ever since.
And they welcomed this foul-mouthed hussy into the home.
Indeed.
So, Robert's structure was really good, and they said the ratio of mousse to biscuit was also really good, and they loved the crunch. So, and this was intriguing because for me, the technical has been a bit of a contentious issue with regards to final outcomes in the last few weeks because it doesn't feel like they're remotely paying attention to it. Chris topped it, then Raisa, then Robert, then Claudia, then Barb, then Dave.
And they usually use it as a measure to say who's in danger and who's not going in. It's like the first bake is just a warm-up.
Yeah.
The technical's going to tell you where everyone stands, but then has no bearing.
And then the showstopper sends you home.
Yeah.
I said the only confusion, and it's a genuine confusion, was they then when they went back to the judging at the end, they said, Robert came into this in trouble, and I'm going, he came third in the technical.
Yeah.
Where was he in trouble? I didn't see the trouble.
And the thing is, I know it's like an hour-long show with breaks through it, so it's even shorter. And they're condensing 2 days' worth of filming into one. Yeah. And, Maggie Beer and Matt Moran aren't idiots. They know what they're doing.
No, and as Robert did point out last week, he said the judging is really they're quite serious
thoughtful,
with their judging.
Yeah.
It's not a 2-second judging process.
Yeah, so it's... And, editors have a massive job, and I guess piecing together the story, some of them, hi, Leo. He's also got something to say about it's our Ridgeback. I guess they just, it's just a little difficult to sell that story.
Yeah, I think it's the only thing that confuses some people is that the technical doesn't seem to have bearing. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. Am I sort of not being on the right lines there? Or?
Yeah, but I think it was the first series of Great British Bake Off. Like, Paul and Mary were literally in the finale going through every single bake the two bakers had done to figure out who should win.
Yeah. They did that, not the most recent series, but the last one that Mary was on, the Candace's series. They did that a couple of times. Like, they got to the semi-final and went, we don't know, so we're going to count back. And you're like, you can't do a count back. That doesn't work. Surely you're judging them on this week.
I've got a cover here because apparently Chris needs to feed our dog doggy biscuits, which could also be a great thing to sponsor us with because our dog eats quite a lot. So this is flawless covering while he struggles with the patio door.
Thank you for that anyway. So, wow, seamless.
He stood up and he's like, now to me. For me.
So you're covering worse. I'm covering for you. And by the way, some of the best dog biscuits we've ever fed him.
Yeah.
Made by Fee.
Yeah.
Yeah, she doesn't do those anymore. She's a bit busy being amazing girl Friday IP. So, doing a lot of awesome stuff. Now, what I did like about the start of the third challenge was before we got to the trifle and before we got to all this, they made up for the dairy-free bit by a free ad for Devondale because they cut back and Matt is sitting there at the table with Maggie and they're like, now the first one was dairy-free and, what was the problem? Well, the problem is, Maggie, that nothing tastes like butter. And it was
not even, I can't believe it's not butter because,
especially not that.
Because some people might say that I can't believe it's not butter. I can't believe it's not butter.
So nice little tribute there.
Yes.
But yeah, it was basically an unpaid ad for Devondale, or paid ad because they're the sponsor.
Yes.
But it was this sort of make good on, that dairy-free baking. Yeah, nothing tastes as good as butter. Like they had to, I'm wondering if they had to sort of do a make good to Devondale for showing people you could bake without butter.
And over the top.
I wonder. I'd be interested to find that out. Sugar-free trifle. Okay. I've been threatening to come off the long run at this one for a while.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Okay, not refined sugar. That was the caveat they gave. Now, the reason they had to give that caveat is because trifle is all fucking sugar. It's got booze. It's got cake. It's all sugar. The whole lot. There's no refined sugar in what they produce there, but if you gave that to a diabetic, they're in hospital.
Glucose, fructose, anything with an ose.
Yeah, and like Raíces with the pineapple.
Rosary. You can't even use a rosary. It's got an ose in it.
So with
toast.
So with Raíces one, like the pineapple and like that, ultra sugary, right? You couldn't have handed that to a diabetic.
Yeah, but you can have it in moderation. Like I'm just going to point out, I had the most delicious pineapple. I think it's the same sort she used. This was last week. This little palate cleanser, and fuck, it was like it had like a layer of toffee on it. It was that good. So yes, they're full of fucking sugar.
Yeah, you would have lost a leg. It's true.
That just up your dose of insulin for the day.
Now Roberts was Berry and Sherry, which I'd like to think was a 1920s double act.
I just thought it was like a bizarro world, like Terry and Sherry from The Simpsons.
And it did raise a question. I think you raised the question as well on Twitter. I know a couple of other people definitely raised the question. Is a trifle really a showstopper?
Oh, so I didn't raise this question. I just really don't like trifle.
Yeah, well, I know you mentioned you don't like trifle, but I saw it was Jane mentioned it.
Jane it was Jane.
And a couple of others then sort of piled on. I went, yeah, you're right. And a couple of others piled onto I don't really like trifle. And, your mother makes a trifle.
I'm just going to stay quiet for the moment.
Because I don't hate trifle, but I'm also not trifle's biggest fan.
Whereas I am.
You are.
I live for trifle. But it has to be good trifle. None of this shitty sloppy bite from like a fucking store trifle bullshit.
Now
people try and pass off as trifle, and it's really just sadness in a box.
But was a trifle a showstopper?
I
think it is.
Chris's definitely was.
If someone you sit down at dinner, right, and someone brings out the trifle because it's all about presentation, as Matt said, and someone brings out and those glasses are clear, you can see the layers. It's beautifully done. Like, look at Claudia's. You could have had that as a centerpiece if it wouldn't have melted. Yeah.
But, they're making the sponges and they're all apparently really good at making jelly.
Yeah.
And, I think that counts.
Yeah. It's an interesting question. It's an interesting question. It's more of a showstopper than maybe a few other things that I've seen.
Chris's was less of a showstopper and more of a like a food replacement for the Eiffel Tower. It would have been the trifle tower. Get it?
The trifle tower. You joke. I thought you did that.
It was a statement.
Someone should be keelhauled for that one.
Yeah.
So now Chris's, I like to think that Chris, and he even commented on this. He learned from last week because on one hand they said that we're used to large bakes and this is too dainty.
And
so
we
made it big.
That's Emma's gig.
And so,
back off.
Yeah, Emma's trademarked that.
she's coming with fee. Who's done
dainty
her
bakes,
intellectual property.
for dainty bakes. And then
I'm sorry, I work for the estate of.
He also then worked out that Claudia's Black Forest last week was amazing. So we just combined the two, size and Black Forest.
Did he have any Kirsch in it? Oh, Kirsch has probably got sugar in it. So
you can't have that.
Oh, fuck that.
Can't have that.
There's barely any alcohol in anything.
Didn't someone use orange liqueur?
It was Barb, and she used some. Did she use some booze?
No, it was Claudia. She used the fortified wine.
Yes, Claudia did.
So technically, it wouldn't have had any added sugar, but it would have been a sweet wine. It was a Spanish sweet wine.
There was lots of cheating around the word sugar in this challenge.
No, you have to find fucking loopholes if you're baking with no sugar.
And then there was stevia, which is not a substitute for anything.
Except eye drops, as one of our friends found out this week.
Okay. No. Seriously, one of our friends may have substituted his eye drops for stevia accidentally.
Oh, my God.
The two bottles were next to each other, and he picked up the stevia and put it in his eye.
Is he okay?
Yeah, it stings a bit, apparently. Who'd have thunk it? But
that said, his coffee would have been allergy-free.
And that's important.
They were allergy eye drops.
Now, before we get into the rest of the trifles.
That's how you can do free stuff. Just put the allergy
stuff in it. So before we get into the rest of these trifles, Mel's impression of a dying Maggie checking on Chris's trifle is quite possibly the funniest thing they've done all series.
And that's saying something considering Claire's bloody, interpreted dance.
And Claire's dancing, the really bad dad joke last week that was just sensational. They have been absolutely on fire, as we said at the start.
Yeah.
But Mel's impression of, what's in that layer? And what's in that layer? And what's
in that layer?
That was spectacular.
And how cute was her cardigan? The little kitty on it. I like it.
It was gorgeous.
Yeah.
It was gorgeous. So Dave made his rose trifle. Which I'd like to think was when the Google image search in his head started. That was the first image of the pop. That's the one. Compute. Then you had the issue of that was we've now learned that Maggie hates stevia. So if you're building the list of things, if you're going on Bake Off, if you're building the list of things that Maggie Beer hates, add stevia to the list.
What else is on the list?
Okay, so what else is on the list?
Things that are too sweet.
Anything that's ultra sweet, sickly sweet. Anything that's
bubble
spicy.
Gum. Yeah, no spice. No bubble gum flavouring.
If it's remotely hot, don't put it anywhere near Maggie Beer. There's a number of
hold back on the pepper.
Yeah, we found out that bubblegum apparently is not a favourite.
I'm with her on that one.
Yeah.
I had bubblegum flavoured ice cream once and it made me sick. So
now that's something I remember from childhood. Remember the rainbow bubblegum flavoured ice cream flavour?
Yeah.
Like who the fuck invented that shit?
Because you know that rainbow paddle pops aren't bubblegum.
No, they're vanilla.
They're caramel.
Oh, the caramel.
Yeah.
But what was it? The one I had was it was like a rainbow paddle pop. It wasn't that brand. It was like bubblegum flavoured and it had nerds in it.
Whoa.
I was really excited about the nerds. Turns out I didn't like bubblegum ice cream.
It turns out you should have just bought a box of nerds and been done with it.
It is another benefit of my workplace. There's a woman that brings in charity chocolate, which is fantastic for the 3:00 afternoon. But they don't like the popping candy, Frodo. So I'm like, fucking yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a school. One of the joys, one of the few joys of being an educator is that the kids will have to raise money.
All right, which one of you?
Sir, do you want to buy some chocolates? Yes. Yes, I do. It's a
really
long day. You can bring me some chocolate.
We had beautiful chocolate, though. It was no brand. It was a local chocolate factory. Those long ones. But this is back in the 80s where it was all brand new. But they used to be really good because you didn't melt it in the microwave and then do your own fondue That's what we did.
Okay, so
You're like,
so
back in the present.
back in the present,
Mindfulness.
they
grounding.
they
Back in the
referred
shed.
to his rose trifle as refined elegance before they'd tasted it.
Yeah.
And then they said the lychee helped about with the balance. And Matt goes, it's absolutely perfect. But the rose water's a bit dominant. So Matt, again, sticking to his current standby of it's perfect, except for this.
I don't like this, but other than that, I can't fault it, except you just did.
Exactly. So if you were playing along with the old game cards, you were drinking.
I was surprised tonight, though, when he gave Barb's tart a 10 out of 10. I was waiting for it. I'm like, where's the butt? There is no butt. There are nipples on her tart, but
there was no
butt.
butt. Now, Barb's, Maggie loved the look, and her complaint was there was possibly a lot in it, but she said it was beautiful to eat.
And she slanted the jelly. I
She slanted the jelly.
Oh, yes.
That was a little touch there, and it's those little touches.
Yeah.
Claudia. Now, I kind of got the feeling with Claudia's, and you sort of heard it in the judging. They were very aware that Claudia had won Starbaker 3 times. And I kind of got the feeling with the possibly too much cream comment. And if you had a look, there wasn't a lot of cream on Claudia's. There was some, but I kind of got the feeling they were looking for something just to make sure. Just to make sure it wasn't again. In terms of if it was close enough with someone else, they wanted to be able to go the someone else route. So
they heard last week's episode.
I think they did. Whereas Chris had too much cream, but to be fair, Chris had too much everything.
Yes.
So I don't know if there was actually too much cream or if the cream was perfect in balance with the amount of everything.
Yeah, like if you'd have dug down and got a whole spoonful of every single layer, that layer of cream would have just evened it out, cut through perfectly.
And we've talked a lot about Claire and Mel tonight.
Yep.
That moment of the spoon.
They had such a great week.
Oh, this was their week. Starbaker this week was actually Mel and Claire.
Yeah.
They deserve Starbaker this week. However, Raisa did win Starbaker. Matt loved it so much that he opened up with Kill Me Now.
Doesn't sound like a good thing.
Not a phrase that I would naturally assume would mean this is wonderful.
In the background, you can see Dave's programming just going.
Rolling to see if that was serious or not. Human wants execution. It's like the Simpsons episode, Itchy and Scratchy Leg. Yes. Human, do not kill. Do not kill. Judge, do not destroy. But apparently that was a really good thing and it was amazing. We haven't talked about him and I've deliberately left it until last because I don't want to.
Claudia, out there, can Chris give you a call? I think he needs a good debriefing, really.
All right. Robert, let's go.
I realised I said debriefing.
Yeah, thanks for that. So, wobble was an ooh moment.
It means pants off in other ways. Okay, back to Robert. Sorry.
The wobble was an ooh moment, and Matt said that the wobble, in fact, made his day.
Well, he was going to die otherwise.
And apparently he was going to die. So that made his day. Flavour was great. The jelly was really great, but possibly too much custard.
Sorry. I don't know. I've just got the giggles now. I think I'm like just. I'm that cut up about it.
I'm having a heartfelt moment where I'm struggling with Robert's demise, and all you can do is laugh through it, Christy.
Look, I'm not good.
It's Tombstone, Christy. It's Tombstone.
You know he's still alive, don't you?
I refuse to necessarily believe
because you just spoke to him last week.
I did. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I met him like 2 weeks ago. He's the best.
Yeah,
So what's his height like in real life?
Tall.
Do you think Chris made the trifle for Robert? Like
Robert-sized trifle. It was a special gift. Yes. Robert had to cart it back to Western Australia with him.
So I met Robert and we had a coffee and then we were getting some dinner and it was we were at a market in Perth and his wife was meeting him because she was showing a house. And then she's like, yeah, it was really easy to find you. I just look for the head that's up there.
Yeah.
He's like, you stick out like a sore thumb.
Look for the tall redhead. It's the easy way to do it.
So I'm just looking for the dancing dude with a hat on, or something that he's claimed as a hat to put on his head.
Something that he's claimed as a hat.
Well, there was the time we went and bought the cat bed for
Oh, me,
Somni.
Yes, no, I thought you were talking about Robert for half a second there. No, me. Yeah, no, I may have worn a cat bed on my hat coming back through the shops.
Which is also very handy.
It looked like a hat.
But Robert's got it built in. He's just tall. And
Robert's just tall. You don't need to look for
you
don't need to look for a weirdo with Robert. You look for a tall person.
You know what I reckon his ancestors did? They just stood on hilltops waiting for the invaders to come. Kind of like when Gondor called for aid. And the beacons they just stood up. Lines of mountains.
Roll the dice.
With the hardwoods.
Defending. He would be awesome to have as a defensive player in Dungeons and Dragons. Not saying, just saying. So, Raisa 1-star baker, and good on her. You know, she had a good week.
Yeah.
She had a good week.
Yeah, her pineapple looked delicious, like that crispiness on top. It must have been the same. I think Elena mentioned it. There's a certain pineapple you can get with a higher sugar content that you can turn into awesomeness.
Yes, and poor Robert had to go. And it was sad. It was really sad. I wasn't prepared. I really wasn't.
You could see it on his face, though.
They all knew.
Everyone knew it was coming.
The thing was, everyone knew it was close, but everyone also, I think, knew it was coming, except for Dave, who looked genuinely shocked, could have been trying to work out which emotion to process. But Dave, but the interesting thing I find with Dave is that for the last few weeks, Dave's had that look like, I think I'm going home.
Yeah.
So he hasn't been as comfortable. And I think this week he really figured that it was between him and Robert. And it was between him. And, you know, unfortunately for Robert, that was it. So
blonde tarts.
He had blonde tarts, and that isn't it horrible when you're taken out by a blonde tart? So
there was a time when I wasn't blonde tart.
Cheerful blonde tart. So next week is British week.
Yes.
I wonder if they're going to bring Mary Berry in. That would be awesome.
No, they need that character from EastEnders. Pop Kettle. Frank Butcher to come in.
Except for the fact he's dead, that'd be perfect.
They could just channel him.
So you want a seance?
Yeah, just get John Edwards in.
You want a seance to bring back the spirit of Frank Butcher for British Week.
I'm sure Mel and Claire have it covered.
I'm quite sure they've got their handle. I'm quite sure we're going to hear some fantastic impressions next week.
You know who they should get in? Mm-hmm. Tom Baker.
That would work. That would work. Because he's a baker.
Yeah.
This is going to be fantastic. Speaking of fantastic, Leah, it has been an absolute joy to have you on the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much.
It has been so much fun. Now, we will be back. I haven't confirmed this, but I'm going to suggest maybe we won't be away till next Thursday. I think we might be talking to Robert this week. Just a hunch.
Yes.
So we'll be back before then. So until then.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Leah, you got anything to plug?
Oh, yes.
No.
Stranger Things, obviously.
Yeah, look, follow me on Twitter at For The Jokes. That's where you can find most of my stuff.
And
I link to things.
Especially. Those gifts. Your gifts. Thank you.
I sort of learned how to make them during the last season of Bake Off, and then yep.
Can you?
I've sort of
the gif of Mel and Claire spooning. Get it?
Oh, yep, I can do that.
That would be awesome. That would be fantastic.
Yep.
So For The Jokes, and also obviously all your stuff can be found at the side of TV.
Yes.
So awesome to go and check all their stuff out. There's some really good recaps and reviews and a whole pile of other TV news. So it's all good on that site. So until next time, I'm still Chris.
I'm still hilarious.
And we'll catch you all later.
Ciao.